Thank you, Neely. Now we're going to move on to Naomi.
I agree.
That's so easy.
I really agree. First of all, it is such a pleasure to be here, and there are so many teachers and colleagues, and it's just a real honor to be sitting amongst such incredible, influential educators. So thanks for having me. Relevance is a pretty hot word for me as well, and Neely and I have done a lot of work together over the years. One additional piece to the bio that I'll share with you is that I'm also a founding company member and the Director of Education and Training for Storytelling, whose word relevance is somewhere in the DNA of that organization in terms of enabling us to understand our ancient texts in a way that is split screen, ancient, and modern all at the same time. And so I was struck by that word, and I was going to come at this a different way, but I'd like to just piggyback if that's possible. I come wearing at least 3 hats to everything I do in the Jewish educational community, but they all sort of converge around one piece, which is the soul work, the social and emotional pieces of our connection to Judaism and to Jewish life. And whether it's how we investigate text, or whether it's how we approach our teaching styles, and whether it's about understanding the ruach that you can be a part of, the spirit that you can be part of through our arts, through theater, through music. It is all around the emotional, the social, the soul connection to Judaism. And it's, to me, the perplexing issue around that is how do we make that work a consistent part of our teaching practice, and what do we need as educators, as institution heads, as administrators? What kind of genetic work do we need in our DNA to enable that soul work to happen? What kind of training do we need? Who are the kinds of professionals that we need? How do we enable this work to be a part and parcel, not an add-on, not a glom-on, but part and parcel of the total soul character development of our kids when they start from early childhood on up through confirmation and even into the world of when they leave the nest and are in wherever they go post high school. So there are a few things that are popping into my head around this work. One, and I'll speak to each of these. One is around the educators themselves, and forgive me for those of you who spent 5 hours with me today, but just to let everybody in on the secret, one of the projects that I work on is a project called Addressing Evaded Issues in Jewish Education. It's through the project that developed out of the work of Dr. Shira Epstein at the Davidson School for Jewish Education at the Jewish Theological Seminary. And this is really an attempt to try to begin to focus in on the spaces that we're creating for environments of learning need to be spaces that are safe for all of our learners so that they can learn. If they come into a space and they perceive it as not safe because there are issues of bullying, because there are issues around exploration of sexual identity, gender identity, because there are issues around socio and economic class, around body. If the spaces that we have in our institutions are not safe for that development proactively, then it's much harder for learning to occur because our learners are anxious, either subconsciously or right at the surface. And so it's harder for them to be there and be present so we can do that work with them. And that takes a special kind of attention. that some educators are just know instinctively or have been through other training programs or may not know about, and that's creating a school culture and also creating a teaching practice. So it's on both levels. One is how our schools, our educational institutions, our environments approaching these issues that we call what we call evaded issues. And two is how are educators equipped in their teaching practice to handle moments when they arise so that our environments can be safe and can enable learning to occur because they feel safe amongst their peers and because they know that the educator there is going to be there protecting that space and creating a culture of safety in that space. So that's one piece of this. The other piece is in that soul development work, in the spiritual lives of our learners, what are the different kinds of experiences we can enable them to investigate, to participate in, that we can set up so that there is an opportunity for them to connect in on a different level. And I want to make a pitch here that arts education is a huge component of that work. Arts heads towards the soul, heads towards the emotional. It's not in place of text learning. It's not in place of the academic pursuits, but it couples with and complements at a different kind of a level the emotional connection that one can have to our tradition, to our values. And so there are approaches out there, whether it's through storytelling techniques, whether it's through some of the work that Avoda Arts is doing around arts-based curricula. So again, the question is on two levels. What is the individual educator who may not be an artist, right? Are there ways that they can actualize and help arts education to be a part of their teaching practice? And two is, on an institutional level, to what extent are our institutions looking at arts education as part of the DNA, not a glom on, not an add-in, but part of the experience that a learner will go through throughout their experience, throughout their time with us. And I think that may be about it that I want to talk about. But thanks, Neely, for framing this.